Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Labor Live at 12:05. My name is Alex Jorgensen, and I'm the Communications Director here at the Alaska AFL-CIO. And if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I never received a legislative lowdown last week, you are correct. My sincere apologies. The Alaska AFL-CIO was hosting our first ever youth summit over the weekend, and it just slipped my mind. But don't worry, legislative lowdown will be back this week. But jumping back into Labor Live at 12:05, we have a very special program today because we're not talking about the legislature. We're not talking about things going on in the federal government. We're talking about things going on here in our home state of Alaska, specifically Ketchikan. There is currently a developing labor situation at the Vigor shipyard. And today we have two incredible special guests. We have Danny Van Nostrand, the bull steward at the Vigor shipyard, and Randy Golding, the business manager of Sheet Metal Local 23. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe let's just kind of kick things off with talking a little bit about the Vigor shipyard and its role in Ketchikan Southeast, and basically the fact that I think it maybe helps repair every single ship in the state of Alaska.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying every single ship, but there is a majority of vessels that are maintained through that shipyard. And if I might be able to just explain to everybody, just back up for a second, I just want to let everybody know that back in 22, the members in that yard filed a petition to organize and elected and won the election through the NLRB. And we established a contract as of May 22, a 3-year contract that expires as of May 2026. So the yard went through some hard times, and we've organized for the better, and we've seen wages increase, we've seen benefits increase, we've seen work outlook increase. And hand it over to Danny to try to answer any other questions.
Yeah, Danny, if you kind of want to talk a little bit about the work that you guys do down at the Vigor shipyard in Ketchikan.
Yeah, so here in Ketchikan, the shipyard is like a premier employer here. Not a big community. Almost everything else is tourist-based. There is a lot of industry that also relies on us, so like the grocery stores, the renters, the people who have homes for rent. It's going to affect a lot of people, but basically we work on pretty much all of the AMHS vessels, minus the Aurora and the Tustamina. We do work on Coast Guard vessels. We work on tugboats. We work on barges. So pretty much everything that gets things to Alaska and out of Alaska, we work on all of that stuff. I know that we have one big boat right now. We have the Lacani in the shop, and we're doing a big overhaul on that. We're probably into the 6-month area on that. So sometimes they're long jobs, sometimes they're short jobs. But yeah, we touch every boat in the AMHS fleet other than those two.
Wow. And, our viewers are well familiar with how important the Alaska Marine Highway System is for every part of Alaska and the shipment of goods through and across Alaska. And how many members do you guys have working in the Vigor shipyard?
75 members, which like you were saying earlier is growing. Since the unions came in, brought in, and since pay was elevated, we've been bringing in. I hired 6 new people since January 10th, and
wow.
Yeah, some of them straight out of school, some of them were transfers, but.
So needless to say, the Vigor shipyard, an important part of the Ketchikan economy, an important part of maritime repairs for the state of Alaska, and, 70 and growing good paying union jobs with benefits that support families, right? So that's really important. But kind of taking a step back, Danny, could you walk us through this kind of current dispute that's going on between Vigor and the AIDEA, which is the Alaska Industrial Development and Export Authority?
Yeah, so AIDEA owns the yard and oversees the operators. They generally will do like a 30-year contract with 10-year renewals. And So Vigor's on their 20th year, getting ready. This was their year to do their final renewal for the 30. And back in September sometime, Ada was in the yard and walked with Vigor and was basically stating their intent. Well, Vigor nor Ada informed labor about that, so we were unaware. And then 2 weeks ago, we got the letter that stated from Ada. Ada basically took it to the last day they could. They ran the clock out on it and then submitted the letter to Vigor stating that they was not going to renew the contract for the next 10 years. However, they had an exclusion in there that they would allow Vigor to continue to work through the next 12 months to clear their backlog on contracted jobs. Vigor then held an all hands meeting with all employees to let them know that Vigor was going to be losing their right to operate in the yard. And so Vigor started canceling contracts or calling customers and having them cancel the contracts so there would be no litigating on the other side. And so they cleared our contracts off the backlog. And then they submitted a proposal to Ada to bring in a third party to help run the yard. And Vigor set a deadline of the 28th of this month for Ada to respond. And also they had an NDA put on who the third party is because Vigor doesn't want us to know for some reason, which that's how they play too. And Ada has till the 28th to respond, but they don't have to respond because it's just Vigor saying, hey, this is our proposal. You have till this date to decide. And then Vigor's going to start rolling out everything, which is forklifts, which is milling machines, which is iron workers, which is welding machines. Pretty much everything that it takes to run a shipyard, Vigor is going to haul out. And that's also when we'll start reducing our workforce. They are not going to use that 12 months. So there's going to be a huge down period for anybody who does decide to stay on this island. And like I said, mainly the income on this island is based off of tourism. So I don't know what we're all going to do. And then being in Alaska, our unemployment rate's 370. So if you do the math and you do cost of living, with bills and all, you're looking at $3,200 with electricity and entertainment, and then housing costs every month. So,
wow. So if I understand you correctly, you have Ada, who owns basically the shipyard itself. It leases the shipyard to Vigor, who's been operating here in Alaska for over 20 years. They were basically going for their 10-year renewal to go to 30 years. And Ada said, actually, no, we're going to go in a different direction. And then Vigor said, in not so many words, or maybe more words, well, F you, no, we're just going to start pulling away all of our equipment that we've purchased and brought to the shipyard, and we're just going to leave without this kind of 12-month cooling off period, leaving you guys, the workers of Vigor, kind of left holding the bag. Is that kind of like an accurate description of the situation?
Excuse me. Yes. Actually, it's 100% the situation. Vigor knows that they have a little bit of political sway if they use us as pawns too. So we're caught in between a big government entity, bureaucratic government entity that's not so good for the people, and we're caught between a corporation that also is not so great for the people. So,
and yeah, that is an unfortunate situation where the working people, the people that are making this entire shipyard function, the people that are actually providing the labor to fix these vessels that are important for Alaska, either have to move to a different shipyard or stay around and hope another operator comes eventually, which won't happen overnight or over a year. And they still have to support their families. I mean, bills don't stop just because Ada doesn't provide a 10-year lease agreement to the Vigor company to maintain the shipyard, right? So, Randy, how will this impact the members of Sheet Metal Local 23, i.e. the workers at Vigor?
Well, it's going to impact them dramatically. As far as I can tell, the Vigor shipyard members roughly bring in around $9 million annually into the community. So although that community relies highly on tourism, I've got to believe that in the downtime during the off season of tourism, that $9 million comes into play in the local community and the businesses that operate. This is going to affect everybody as far as we can tell.
Right.
We're already being told that there has been conversation by the current operator to the member to consider relocating out of state, potentially at their Seattle or Oregon shipyards, mainly due to all the work that they have coming up. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be big. And I don't really know I don't know what to anticipate. I don't know. Without a crystal ball, I really have no answers. And unfortunately, none of the local legislators are responding to any of the local community members' requests for information. And it seems like no one really has any answers at this moment. But that still doesn't stop the speculation from running rampant in the yard. And, with people thinking that they have to leave, things are going to get bad real quick. Nobody's going to wait for the worst to occur. They're going to take off prior to.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you right now, when these skilled craftsmen leave this island, they're not going to come back. It's not going to happen, and it'll take years. It'll take 5 years to replace the workforce alone. So the community's just not going to have a shipyard for a long time. And that means that all the boats will need to go down to Vigor still, or to Steward, which Steward can't maintain some of these big vessels because they don't have a dry dock. So that means all of this work will be going out of Alaska still into Vigor's pocket down in Seattle or Portland.
Right. So, yeah, it seems like the only losers here are the workers and the state of Alaska itself, who won't be able to maintain in state their own fleet of vehicles that are essential for all sorts of transportation and security and safety. So, yeah, I guess what can local community members in Ketchikan do? I know at the Alaska AFL-CIO, we will be developing an action in consultation with Randy and Danny here from Sheet Metal Local 23 about how you can get involved. But what can some people do right now? Like, should they be calling their representatives, Rep. Bynum and Senator Stedman?
Absolutely. Yes. And Governor Dunleavy also, and then AIDEA, if we could figure out who could correct their information on their website so that we could actually contact them, because it's all fraudulent and fake. If we had a way to contact AIDEA, it would be great, but they're very hard to get a hold of.
All right, folks, you heard it here. If you live in Ketchikan, or if you care about Ketchikan, which should be hopefully everyone watching this video, please contact the Senator Bert Stedman. Please contact Representative Bynum. Representative Bynum. Make sure I get that correct. And also contact the governor. Contact anyone you can, because this is really an emerging situation that needs attention. It needs problem solvers to come in and help mediate the issues going on. So Danny, Randy, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the program, enlightening our audience about this really critical issue in Ketchikan. Anything else you want to add before we end today's Labor Live?
I'd just like to say, if there are any questions from anybody who's watching this, don't hesitate to give Local 23 a call, and I can help you, point you in the right direction. Going back to what's going on in Ketchikan, there is a petition going around. And if you are a resident of Ketchikan, please consider signing that petition. We're ultimately going to be sending that over to AIDEA representatives, state representatives, anybody and everybody. And everything, it's all hands on board right now. Any and everything you guys can do. Even though they're not responding, we're still going to call and email every single day.
That's what labor does best.
Absolutely. I would just like to thank all the brothers and sisters out there for their support. And, with the unified workforce, we can make everything better.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks so much for joining the program. Folks, that is it for today's episode of Labor Live at 12:05. Make sure to share with your friends and family, and make sure to tune in next week as we cover another emerging issue in Alaska's labor movement. So thanks again for watching.